Welcome to JGTCR, I'm Cope, and today we will be taking a look at the new vehicles available on Gran Turismo 7 after update 1.55. Let's get into it. In this video, we will be taking a quick look at each of the vehicles in factory and modified trim, share the tune sheets for each of the modified vehicles, and provide some brief commentary on the performance of each car. The circuit of choice this time around is Mt Panorama. We allow ourselves 2 laps in the factory vehicle and 2 laps in the modified vehicle. This then forms the basis of our opinion and commentary on each of the vehicles. So let's take a look at the first vehicle in question, the Gran Turismo F3500-A. In factory trim, the F3500 is very slippery on the tail end, especially in the first 3 gears. Some of this slipperiness may be attributed to the circuit choice, however, it is abundantly clear that we must be cautious when accelerating out of low speed turns. The power comes on quite strong at the bottom end and causes us to break traction at low speed, but at higher speeds the downforce kicks in and all that power becomes very usable. The copious amounts of downforce stabilize the vehicle at speed, and yes, this is 100% a trust the downforce kind of car. The handling is extremely sensitive. It has very sharp turning abilities. This can take some getting used to, and we can find ourselves overturning quite easily on many corners. Let's jump ahead and take a look at our lap time. 141.9 seconds. And now the tune sheet. The only real modification available is tyres, so we upgraded to racing softs. The tune shop did have an exhaust available, however, there was no actual change to the vehicle's performance in any way, be it horsepower or performance points. It is unclear if this is a glitch I'm experiencing personally or if this is something by design, but it is something I will be keeping an eye on for changes in the future. Changes to the suspension were mild if any, as the F3500-A handles very well. The only thing needed to drive the car well is a good understanding of how the car responds to inputs. It handles pretty much the same, it just has a bit more grip, and this is especially good for stabilizing the rear end. The car is still fast and handles well, it's just a touch more twitchy on turning inputs. Overall, this is a decent addition to Gran Turismo 7, especially for those that love F1 cars and open wheelers. If you have a need for speed, the F3500-A will get you there. Let's take a look at the lap time for comparison. 1 minute 38.8 seconds. Moving on to the Honda Civic. The EF Honda Civic is actually a great car to drive. Surprisingly, the suspension is very sporty for an old car. Usually the suspension in the more dated vehicles is a sponge fest, but not this time. So it actually handles really well. There is not a lot of power available. It can barely spin the wheels. But this means we can throw it into turns and thrash the life out of it, and it's incredibly fun. Let's take a look at our lap time. A slow but fun 2 minutes 55.4 seconds. Let's take a look at the modified tune sheet. The modified version of the Civic cranks the fun up to 11. It now handles even better and has the power to spin the wheels. And an interesting fact about the power is that the medium turbo is far superior to the high turbo. There is only 1 horsepower between the high turbo and the medium turbo, but the difference in power delivery is astronomical. There is far more usable power in the medium turbo, and for the cost of 1 horsepower, it is well worth it. And while there is a degree of wheel spin that occurs when driving this Civic now, it is manageable and continues to handle well. Overall, this Honda Civic is a great addition to the lineup on GT7, and a very pleasant surprise in both factory and modified trim. Let's take a look at our lap time. A now much more respectable 2 minutes 14 seconds flat. Up next, the Hyundai IONIQ. The IONIQ is an absolute tank of a vehicle, but it is fast for what it is. This is in and of itself a very dangerous combination. It speeds up rather quickly, and this gives us a false sense of security of how quickly it can slow down. So it's more than likely that many will find themselves going off the end of the circuit as they find themselves running out of stopping ability when it's needed the most. The excess weight also makes it difficult to corner, as the IONIQ always seems to want to go wide, and the aggressive torque synonymous with electric vehicles does not help matters either. Let's jump ahead and collect our time. 2 minutes 19.9 seconds. And now a peek at our tune sheet. With all of the aero parts available and attached to the IONIQ, it ends up looking a bit like the Escudo. But while the look is obnoxious, it certainly has helped the vehicle handle much better. It is much easier to place this vehicle on the circuit, and it actually responds to our inputs appropriately. The weight reduction has helped our braking, but it does still take a long time to slow down. Automatic electric vehicles are generally not that fun to drive, and while this is not an exception, it's about as close as one gets. The IONIQ is an interesting addition to Gran Turismo 7, but it's difficult to say that it's a good one. But as far as electric vehicles go on Gran Turismo, it is one of the better ones. Let's take a look at the time. 2 minutes 3.2 seconds. And now our final vehicle, the Toyota CHRS. I'm just going to come out and say it, the Toyota CHRS is a terrible vehicle. It is incredibly painful to drive. It is so slow, especially for a modern vehicle, and it handles like a wet rag. When braking, slowing down takes forever, which is baffling because we are traveling at walking pace. So brake early and be prepared to hold the brake well past the apex because we're flying off the end of the track. The suspension is also terrible. It doesn't like to turn, but it loves to slide for any reason, and it won't stop sliding. This Toyota has no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and in case I haven't made it abundantly clear, I am not a fan, not at all. Let's take a look at our lap time. 3 minutes and 5 seconds flat. Let's look at the tune. After being modified and tuned, there is an amazing improvement when driving the Toyota CHRS. However, this is most likely because the stock vehicle is so bad. Thanks to some weight loss, the engine's performance is far better, making the vehicle faster. The suspension has rectified the sliding issue, so this Toyota can now take corners like a normal car would. When driving the factory model, the battery boost depleted as we drove around the track. But again, thanks to our weight loss, the battery now does not deplete at all. While these improvements make this Toyota a better car to drive, they do not make up for how terrible the base model is. I am literally dreading driving the factory and modified versions around the Nürburgring for the tuner series available on this channel. Let's jump ahead one last time and collect our time. 2 minutes 34.3 seconds. And there you have it, a brief look at some of the new vehicles available after update 1.55 on Gran Turismo 7. In my opinion, the combustion engine vehicles are a great addition. The IONIQ is one of the better electric vehicles in the game, but the Toyota CHRS seems to be a front runner for the worst vehicle on Gran Turismo 7. Again, this is only my humble opinion, so feel free to let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing!